was unable to find both Maggie and Paul. He went out and looked around on the property and sadly found both Maggie and Paul deceased. Both had been shot multiple times out by a dog kennel area that they had on their estate there. Alex ended up calling the police at 10:07 that evening and reported that his wife and son had both been shot. The police came out and they were unable to find anyone on the property, but they made a statement basically saying that the rest of the people in Islandton were safe, that there wasn't any present danger or anything like that. And the police estimated that both Maggie and Paul passed away between 9 and 9:30 that evening. The police, of course, questioned the remaining members of the Murdoch family, but everyone says they cannot think of anyone who would have ever done this. They did not have any known enemies. However, Paul had apparently received a few death threats, which we'll kind of get into here in a second. Both Buster and the father, Alex, had alibis for the time Maggie and Paul were murdered, so they were never suspected in this case at all, basically. So this is where it gets crazier. I said Paul had had a few death threats. Now, I'm not sure if the family just didn't take these seriously or if they were expected, because to be honest, the Murdaugh family, their name has been tied to 3 other deaths. So yeah, let's explore that a little bit. This is where it gets so crazy. Paul was even the one who was technically connected to 3 other possible deaths here in his short 22 years of life. So this kind of begins the question, could someone have murdered Maggie and Paul out of revenge because they were mad? So let's explore some of these other deaths that the Murdaugh family has been connected to. We're going to rewind a bit to the year 2015. On July the 8th, in the year 2015, a man named Stephen Smith, who was 19 years old at the time, was found deceased alongside of a road in Hampton County, South Carolina. average, if your shoes are tied loosely and you're involved in a hit and run, they tend to fall off or get scraped. Small things like that. That was not the case here. So, apparently the police felt as though it was a gunshot wound or something else. However, the coroner kept telling everyone that it was a hit and run, and that is what they listed on his death certificate. The police, did not believe this, however, and so they kept pushing for it to be a possible gunshot wound, but the coroner just would not change it at all. Eventually, several tips came into the police about the death of Stephen, and they were told to basically question the Murdaugh boys, so both Paul and Buster. It was rumored, now this is very much a rumor, so I cannot speak to the truth on this, but it was rumored that the older Murdaugh boy, Buster, had been in a secret relationship with Stephen at some point in time. It was also rumored that Buster was supposed to go on like a camping or fishing trip with Stephen, and at some point that July. But apparently Buster did not want other people to know they were in a relationship, and there is the possibility that Stephen began telling people they were. So rumors very much began swirling that that Buster and Paul could have gone out and found Stephen that evening and killed him either with a gun or some sort of blunt force trauma, but they did not believe, like I had said, that it was a hit and run. The Murdaugh family, of course, like I said, is a very affluent family, so I'm sure they have ties to the coroner and various people there. So there were never any answers found in Stephen's death. I believe they were questioned, but basically let go. So that's the first death that happened. Fast forward a few more years to the year 2018. Now, this is a strange death, but nothing, of course, kind of like the first one, directly links Paul or Buster or even Alex or Maggie. Maggie to this case. I cannot keep the names straight. There are so many of them. So what happened here was the Murdaugh family had a housekeeper named Gloria Satterfield. Gloria apparently passed away due to a trip and fall on February the 26th in the year 2018. That's basically all the information we have on that. I assume this happened, in one of the Murdaugh's houses. I am not sure, though. There really is not more information besides the fact that there was a wrongful death suit filed, and the Murdaugh family apparently paid out more than $500,000 in this instance. So that's insane. No details, though, on this case in any way, shape, or form. That's it. So, another house. One was Paul and his girlfriend, and then another couple, and a final couple. And the girl in this final couple was named Mallory Beach. So after drinking the alcohol at their home, Paul and his friends, including Mallory, decided to get in a boat owned by Paul's father, Alex. Now, this was a fairly nice boat. However, I'm not sure if it just did not have lights or if the lights were not working at this time. But basically, Paul and his friends had to hold up some large flashlights in order to see. But they got in this boat to drive it somewhere to go to basically like a dinner party. And they did not want to drive in their cars because, of course, it was, the police could have got them. So, yeah. However, they were driving the boat, and it was February 24th of the year 2019. So I assume it was fairly cold outside. So Paul and his friends, including Mallory, ended up at another house where they ate, and they spent about 5 hours there, and they consumed more alcohol. Paul at this point in time was fairly drunk, but nothing like terrible quite yet. And apparently he was just refusing to take an Uber home or drive home. He was very insistent on driving the boat home. So they all got back into the boat. After this, Paul and another one of the guys wanted to stop at a bar. So they did. Most of the group did not want to partake and stop at this bar, but they did. So Paul got even more drunk, and apparently it was a known fact that when Paul got extremely drunk, he basically, turned into another person and was just nasty and mean and kind of reckless and crazy. So around 2 in the morning, still on February the 24th in the year 2019, the boat that Paul had been driving crashed into a bridge. All of the guys had been on the boat when suddenly the boat took off, and Paul was the one standing closest to the throttle. So it is assumed that he pushed the throttle, whether on purpose or on accident. It's not been very clear. But the boat took off so fast that the tip of the boat stuck out of the water, and basically everyone fell back on the boat. Now I'm not sure if Paul was still attempting to drive at this point or what happened, but the boat crashed into the bridge. Sadly, everyone was flung off of the boat, and pretty much everyone made it back to shore except for Mallory Beach. Of course, the friends called 911 and they came out, but Mallory was unable to be found. Sadly, a week later, Mallory was found, and she was, of course, deceased at this point in time, which breaks my heart because she did not deserve that at all. Apparently, even though Paul and all of his friends were intoxicated, he was never given a sobriety test by the police to check his blood alcohol content. He was basically just let go to live his life. His dad stepped in and some of their lawyer friends, and yeah, that's what happened. So then on April 18th in the year 2019, Paul was indicted on charges of boating under the influence causing witnessed any of these deaths. Even in the case of Mallory Beach, it is unknown whether or not Paul really did push the throttle. Of course, I feel as though even if he didn't, it was his boat. He wanted to be out. He wanted to drink more. He was definitely the most intoxicated amongst everyone there. So, yeah, I would say he should be at fault of some sorts, even if he didn't push the throttle. But from everyone else, the way it sounds was he did. So that, like I said, brings that question: was this a revenge plot or something? It's just crazy to think about. But the story gets even crazier. So literally this last Saturday, on September the 4th, in the year 2021, the father, Alex, after having lost his wife and younger son, ended up calling the police again. This time, Alex had been on his way to Charleston when he experienced some car trouble, so he stopped and got out of his car. As Alex got out of his car, he saw a truck drive past him. Then the truck turned around and drove back past him. On its way back, someone from inside the truck shot at Alex. Alex ended up having just a superficial gunshot wound to the head, and he was airlifted to a hospital in Savannah, Georgia. So that happened, which is crazy. He is apparently fine after this. However, within the last couple of days, Alex resigned from the law firm that he worked at and decided to enter rehab. I'm not sure what the rehab is for exactly, but he decided to do that. Then his law firm released that he is